Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. We're on Xbox One X. The game is indeed enhanced. We're getting just improved resolution, no HDR support, and actually, yeah, the game does play decently better than when it did back in the day. So I put in a lot of hours into this game. It was great a couple of years back when I was basically, writing reviews or doing video editing. I could, play the game and then take a break to do my work and play with friends and stuff like that. So I really did pack in the hours on this one, and revisiting it now, it's changed a lot. It's a lot more competitive focused in regards to, blocking certain characters and maps from rotation if you don't want them, in order to adjust what both teams kind of want. That's interesting. It's a little intense for what I think of in this one, but I get why they made the move. It's definitely got some sleeker menus. They've readjusted a lot of things, and I think for the most part the game is perhaps better because of that. They've really made it sleek. It does definitely seem to be running better too overall, which is nice, and it still looks pretty good, decently in terms of visuals. I think it's got a nice realistic aesthetic to it, and the game just continues to grow and change with the season's design that it's carrying, where basically they keep adding new operators, they keep adjusting things, fine-tuning aspects of the overall experience, and it works out well. So this is the kind of basically multiplayer only take on the Rainbow Six series, and it seems as though we may never get another traditional Rainbow Six game ever at this point, just because of how successful this one has been. And it's definitely earned that, because this plays really well. It's incredibly tactical, it's an enjoyable experience, and it's just quite a lot of fun. So what you're doing in the game generally is playing objective based modes. You're doing one side attacking, one side defending. What that has to do with what your objective is kind of changes. Hostage situation, bomb situation, it's a little bit different here or there. And then there's a great selection of maps available, a great selection of operators, which are the characters that each have their own individual abilities and perks and skills, and you can customize what kind of guns they have from a varied selection, and even put in like charms and gun skins and all that fun stuff. But in general, yeah, that's the gist of what it is. It's like a team-based, objective-based experience. There's also a terrorist hunt mode, which is kind of like against the AI, so it's like a PvE thing. I never really liked that mode. I never really found it too enticing. But I mean, it is something that is available if you want to work together and kind of, I guess you could say, practice your skills a little bit. So that's kind of really good for that one. But anyways, the game itself, really well done. It's a lot of fun. It's an enjoyable experience. Huge range of kind of variations in the gameplay. It's always going to be different. So when you're playing, one match will be entirely different from the other due to the fact of the combination of operators in play and their different abilities and their skills, and then also where on the map you're actually going. So when you're playing these maps, there's like 3 to 5 different spots where you can actually place your objectives as you're defending. So if you're defending, you're like, okay, let's do the, the gym area, or let's do the basement area. And hopefully you're seeing that within the gameplay in the background here, where I actually did pretty well for having not played in a couple of years or so. At least I think it's been a couple of years. It's been a long time. Anyways, jumping into that, it keeps things kind of focused, and you can't go into the same spot in a row, so you have to pick a different area, and you have to defend a different area when you're going through this, and then you swap up and you do the assault, so you can go from a different perspective. You pick where on the map you want to drop into the action when you're doing the assault, and you get all these different tools when you're on the attack too, right? You can rappel up the side of walls, you get on the roof. One of my favorite things back in the day was some of the roofs. You can use fuse, and you can just plop down your little fuse shots, which shoot little grenades and explosives into a room. I think they're little explosives. I don't know if they're directly grenades, but they shoot down and they would just cause mayhem. I'd take out teams doing that. And my Frost character here, she's still pretty good, but I think they nerfed her a little bit. Anyways, each of the different characters, they have their own little personality, their own visual style, and their own aesthetic, and their own abilities and what they're doing. So Frost is cool because she's got like bear traps, and I've discussed Fuse, which has the ability to shoot little rockets into areas, and then you've got like one that can throw up little additional cameras, which can be really helpful. There's ones that can put up like great walls. There's like the doctor character. There's a ton of operators now. There's so many new ones. I was like, whoa, the list has gotten crazy big, and it's wild to see that they're like continuing to update and advance the game like this. And again, it's just a little disappointing that we won't get a traditional Rainbow Six game, or at least I don't think we will for a long time, because this one seems to be the direction. And I really enjoyed the campaigns for the traditional Rainbow Six games. They were really, really great, and you just don't get that here, which is a little sad from a historic standpoint. But looking forward, I think this game still has a bright future ahead of it. They've done wonders with keeping the community growing, improving the experience, enhancing it, and delivering something that is, quite comprehensive. I think it really does hit the mark in a number of ways. And I've got to talk about the game's destruction. So that was really the cool part of Siege, at least for me, when it initially came out, when I was playing it over the years, and my friends as well, is the fact that you can really destroy a lot of it. So the environment isn't entirely destructible, but there's walls that you can kind of shoot right into, and you can create your own dynamic holes. So explosives, they cause a little bit more damage, but as like a shotgun player here, I could sit in a corner, I could shoot a small hole that just I can see through, and people might not notice it, and I can peek through with my shotgun, and I can like blast people away through the wall, which was great. If you want to prevent that, you put up the big kind of reinforced walls, and then there's like a perk that counteracts that, or an ability that counteracts that. You can kind of burn down those walls. There's all these little back and forth things, and again, that's where the operators come in with their different abilities, is they can do different things that cross out different things for the others. It's really interesting in that regard, and it keeps things constantly different, because you never know what kind of strategy is going to be deployed. Are they going to come from the basement? Are they going to come down the hallway? Are they going to come through the roof and break down the roof? Depending on where you are in the map, you can come through the floors. I used to like shooting the fuse targets through the floors too, when you're above, which I guess is technically the ceiling if you're in the room below, but it would be the floor for you if you're in the second level. Anyways, I digress. It's just really neat because every situation's a little bit different, and all the tactics are a little bit unique, and each operator brings in something that completely mixes things up a bit, right? Because you're never sure exactly how that new operator is going to play into the existing ones. And it's fun, I imagine, for players that are really into this to figure out, hey, this one can do this one can do this for me, and then you have different alternates that you switch between depending on the situation. It's competitive, it's intense. They've got ranked, unranked modes, some fun variations. I think they offer a good amount of gameplay, and again, something that's really quite competitive and evolved, and something that keeps changing as the years goes by. They've done a great job, again, of just keeping the experience alive, keeping it entertaining, and improving it. This is looking and playing a lot better than I remember it playing and looking back in the day, which is impressive. But yet it's the same core experience that I remember, and they've just done a lot more balancing, improvements, and adjustments to the overall experience. And I hope the gameplay I've been presenting is decent. I might be a little bit rusty, but I think I did alright in the modes, at least for what I've been showing. So they've got a great selection of maps here, a lot of content. It's a multiplayer that you could play, infinitely, right? You could spend hours and hours and hours through so many different scenarios, blasting away enemies, and enjoying what this has to offer. And while when it initially launched, I was, kind of a little bit, there's not a lot of content. It's a decent game. I think gave it a bit of a solid marking back in the day, which is decent. But I was like, I still wanted more from it, and I think at this point, looking at how the gaming space has evolved and changed, this is a great representation of, a modern shooter doing something unique within the genre, because you really need to do weird and neat stuff to stand out these days, and this one has most certainly achieved something bizarre and different. It's not bizarre, but you know, it's unique because it's like a tactical focused experience that does just a certain thing, and it does it very, very well, and it's a lot of fun to play. It's engaging. It's definitely worth checking out if you're interested in it, especially since I'm doing this because they threw it on Game Pass, and I thought that made sense to do so. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this look at Rainbow Six Siege, and hopefully we'll see this expanded upon in the future.